Okay, if you haven't already, I urge you to go watch Governor Walz's State of the State from 11 months ago. Now, this address or speech was right before four Minnesotans, two of them who are members, state representatives, were assassinated, an attempted assassination, okay, by the Governor Walz's appointed person, Lance Belter. Okay, Governor Walz appointed Lance Belter. Okay, now there's some words that he used in this speech where, if you get a thesaurus, okay, you'll understand this more. Remember the cant or cantaloupe language, the hidden code that some politicians give in their speeches. Okay, what they're saying doesn't directly mean the words that are coming out of their mouth most of the time. Okay, it's kind of like a hidden language. I want you to understand that. But go re-listen to the State of the State by Governor Walz right before those two state representatives were assassinated and attempted assassinated. Okay, he talks about people being thrown in unmarked white vans, okay, and taken away. He talks about President Trump. He says chosen about 6 different times, twice in a row. Okay, then he says he has to insurance companies. Okay, there's different words that he used to let everybody know, because the fraud was being investigated back then. Okay, and then the fact that he called out fraud in that State of the State in 2025, when it wasn't mainstream news really, the only thing it was the feeding our future thing. Okay, it became mainstream news in December 2025 and January 2026. That's when the fraud news exploded in Minnesota. There's only a few cases being covered by local media because that's how many people are involved with it. Okay, almost the entire state house. Okay, lots of local newspapers, lots of churches, lots of small businesses. So it's very big, the fraud that has happened in Minnesota, and very little of it has actually been dealt with or people held accountable. So I want you to understand that. But go re-listen to Governor Walz's speech, where he basically calls out how keep in mind, him and Donald Trump, both lifelong Democrats, and they're good friends. They act like they hate each other on TV, but they set up this whole ICE thing in Minnesota when the fraud was being investigated, and Trump threatened the U.S. District Attorney's Office of Minnesota that was actually holding people accountable. He threatened all of them to resign. Okay, basically the only agency that has been able to successfully hold people accountable has been the FBI, and they've had to be very secretive about their investigation. They've had to not talk about it. And again, in his State of the State speech, Governor Walz mentions the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, their new fraud unit. Well, I reported stuff to that fraud unit because my dad committed insurance fraud. Very small fraud compared to the fraud going on in Minnesota. Not that it should be overlooked, but they didn't even reply to me. It's like there's nobody in that agency. Okay? So if you literally start an agency within an agency to go after fraud and none of it has gone after, well then don't play stupid when you come up with these news headlines in the Star Tribune that say, the FBI brushes off the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. Well, yeah, that's because they're part of it. There's people part of the fraud. It's basically like they started an organization to catch whistleblowers and then make them look crazy, or go after them, intimidate them, kill them, assassinate them, however they have to do it. Because there's so many the regular families that are a part of this, and they do not want to be held accountable. They do not want to be responsible for their actions, for starting fraudulent businesses. So there's that many people willing to the very few people that want to speak up about it. There's that many more people that are willing to go after you. Okay, so that's it. In its most simplest context, his speech was basically a hit assassination call out to Lance Belter. Okay, as he was directed from President Trump to do so because people were investigating fraud. Specifically, very few Minnesota state representatives, very few that the federal agents could trust. And that's why those two families were targeted, not for any other reason other than they were doing the right thing. They were targeted by Trump, Walz, all the people that are involved with this. And then this is what politicians do. You got to watch out. You think their speeches are like the words that they're giving out, right? They have a hidden meaning or hidden context behind any mainstream speech that they write or have written for them. Okay, think of it like start off by thinking of it's backwards. So everything they say, basically, kind of like the opposite, and it goes a little deeper than that. But Trump, he's part of this fraud too. That's how he got all of his businesses started. They're all government money, fraudulent government money. So I wish people understand that. Same thing with a lot of these businesses in Minnesota. It's all fraudulent federal government money. So please go watch Governor Walz's State of the State in 2025. I believe it was in April or May, right before these politicians were assassinated and the attempted assassination. It's very sad, but that's kind of like how clueless a lot of society is that isn't part of this, okay? When they watch those speeches, they kind of take it as political theater, okay, or political talking points. And then you flip to one side or the other, Democrat or Republican. Now remember, they're on the same team, Democrats and Republicans. That's why we live in a democratic republic, because there's one political party. There's always been one political party. I was taught this in my college history class at Michigan State. It's the deception of two. They would never be able to pass bills or legislation if they didn't work together, okay, to deceive the American people. So think of America as a democratic, which it is, democratic republic with one party, the Democratic Republicans. Love you. Have a great day.